Hi everyone, welcome to another video from Neovim series, and today we are going to talk about telescope extensions. Before we start, as always, if you're new here, welcome, thank you for watching. I typically create videos about Neovim, Kubernetes, Cloud Native, and all kinds of geeky stuff. If you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing and supporting the channel. Let's get started. So if you use Neovim, you probably know Telescope already, but if not, let me introduce it real quick. Telescope is an extension to Neovim, a plugin that brings fuzzy finding functionality. So you can fuzzy find all kinds of stuff and you can execute various actions on things you found. The plugin was originally created by TJ. Definitely check his YouTube channel. He is a Neovim contributor and produces a lot of cool content. Telescope by itself comes with a lot of pre-built stuff. So extensions is something you can add, but it offers a lot out of the box. You can read all about it on Telescope plugin page, but you can do things like search inside of files, search files themselves, and so on and so forth. However, today we are focusing mostly on using various extensions and how those extensions work, why they are cool, and I selected a few that I want to show you today. The power of extensions really comes from integrating with external tools. We will see extensions that integrate with GitHub, that integrate with Kubernetes, and things that you can write yourself. So at the end, we are going to see how we can write a simple extension. So extensions is really a treasure chest of functionality. So let's see what we can do with it. So before we jump into looking at various extensions, let's talk briefly about the extensions architecture, how they are built. So there are four main concepts we need to be familiar with to understand the extensibility model. First of all, we have pickers. Those are the functions that allow us to define what do we search, whether those are files, Git commits, buffers, Kubernetes pods, anything. Then we have sorters, pretty obvious how the results are being presented to us in what order. Typically, by default, it uses FZF algorithm or frequency. We have previewers, so what happens when we highlight a line in our search box, whether it's a file content, a Git diff, or again, a pod YAML manifest, things like that. And then we have actions. And actions is something what we do when we open a file or we open a pod in our case or anything else. So how do we load extensions? Like anything in Neovim, you can use Lua and then just require Telescope and load an extension just by writing this simple loading. You can access the extensions by typing telescope command and then access various speakers. You can do this also from Lua, or you can have all kinds of key bindings for things that you use often. So let's look at the first extension. This is a very simple one. It enables you to navigate files and directories. It's a very, very simple file browser extension for current directory. So I have mapped it to FI, leader FI, and let's see how it works. So here I have my starting page, make it a little bit smaller. And we are currently in some directory. So now when I hit leader FI, you can see we see the content of the directory, which has one folder and 4 files. I can browse up and down with Control P and Control N. You can see in the preview here, it displays the content of the file. And that's about it. If I hit enter, it will open a file. I can do this again. There's some limited functionality like copying files, deleting them, adding, and so on. You can hit escape and then question mark to see all the help here. I need to make it way smaller for you so you can see, but that's essentially, let's do this again so it's better visible. So escape, question mark, and you can see you can change directory, copy, close. I am not performing those operations. I like much more mini.files or oil.nvim, which enable file editing in Neovim buffer, but I use this extension very often for selecting files. If I know that I just need to select file quickly in the current directory, that's what I use it for. So let's zoom back in a little bit. All right, so now this was very simple, right? So super simple extension, very handy if you want to navigate inside of a folder. So another one that I want to show you is integrating with GitHub. I know not everybody uses GitHub. We have GitLab and other, but it's most popular. I use it. And this extension shows very well how we can wrap an external command, in this case, GitHub CLI, GH, in the extension, and then use Telescope UI to load and interact with various things. The extension provides options for issues, pull requests, gists, and workflows. So let's see how it works in action. So here I have just a simple file, and I can do something like, q : to show the history of commands. And here is the latest command I used. This is telescope, GH, accessing the picker, and I'm going to show my gists. So when I hit enter, it shows all the gists. We can, for example, select this gist. You can see the preview on the right-hand side. And then if I hit enter, it will add the content of the gist into current buffer. It all looks very ugly because we zoomed so much, but I can just delete it. And then if we do this again, let's, instead of adding it, we can actually hit Ctrl E, and then this would open a new Neovim pane, and then we can edit the content of the gist. Very, very useful. I use gists a lot to just, share snippets of code or content, and this extension is very useful for doing that. You can also check issues, PRs, and others. If you use GitHub, again, really, really handy thing. Another one is Zite Integration. If you're not familiar with Zite, this is a project that essentially tracks your folder changes. So if you access various folders in your system, it will rank the folders, and next time you use Zite, instead of just CD for changing to a folder, it will show you an SDF picker with folders. So you can replace your CD with it. And it integrates really nicely with Neovim. So let me show you how I use it. So here again, we have just a starting screen. And when I hit leader FZ, in my case, then you can see it shows all kinds of folders. So for example, I can navigate to .files. When I do this, I have set up my Zite in a way that it shows me another picker, and then I can select the file. So for instance, I can select my ZShellRC, and then I can edit it. So I use it sometimes. Most of the time I access files from a command line. I made a video recently how you can use FZF from the command line to actually open files in Neovim. But sometimes if I'm inside of a file and I don't want to change to a Tmax session or open a new pane, this is super useful to grab a file from somewhere else. So that was Zite Integration. Now we have a really, really powerful extension that is called LifeGrab args. So LifeGrab is a built-in functionality in Telescope, and this essentially uses ripgrab or RG to fuzzy find the content of your files. So if you're in a directory, it will search by default in a current directory and all the subdirectories. However, LifeGrab enables you to add parameters to your search, because by default, LifeGrab LifeGrab args, sorry, enables you to add parameters or arguments to libgrab, because by default it doesn't support them. So let's see how this could work. Again, the same story. We are in a folder. Now let's say we want to see what folder are we in. We are in my Neovim Lua config, and then I can do simply, it is in my case space FL, I mapped it, and now I can just search for the word NVim, and you can see it opens the word NVim everywhere. Then I have a shortcut set up that is Control I, and it's kind of adds me this I glob flag that's from RG, and here I say maybe I want to search in only Lua files, so I want to find the word NVim only in Lua files. So then I just do star Lua, and you can see it narrows the criteria. Another interesting shortcut that you can set up also is when you say Control space, it kind of gives you another search over the existing search. So we already narrowed down to our NVim iglob Lua, so we search for the word NVim only in the Lua files, and then from here I can search something like lazy, for example. So it's kind of like keeps narrowing my search. Now I want to show you kind of an edit. Maybe lazy was a bad idea, something, let's say shell. Yeah, so there's a little bit more files. So I'm searching for a word shell, so files with the word share or similar. What I can do from this speaker, I can actually select a file. So if I hit tab, you can see, first of all, let me just do this again. So NVim iglob Lua, enter. So we already actually went into the file. Sorry for that. So NVim one more time, Lua, and I wanted space, and then I search for something like shell. And what I can do is I can hit escape first, and then I can do tab to mark the file. Then I can move a little bit higher here, mark another file, again with tab, and let's mark also one more. So I marked 3 files, and what I searched for is the word shell. So now I can do Alt Q, and you can see Alt Q brings me to quick fix window with the results I was searching. So initially I was searching for the word NVim, and then I used Control and space to narrow the search, and then I searched for the file name. Then I narrowed it down to file name that contained the words shell or similar, and then I send it all to a quick fix list. So it was a lot of steps, but it's a very common workflow that you do with Neovim. And from quick fix list, I can jump to those files and I can perform edits using QF edits or argdo or others. I have a video also how to do those more complex edits, but that's how you can take Telescope, find something in a really precise way, and then send the result to a quick fix list. All right. Now we are going to really quickly look at building our own extension. I have built an extension for the project called Crossplane. So it's essentially a Kubernetes add-on in an infrastructure as code space. And I worked with it a lot, so I didn't want to leave Neovim, and I want to be able to edit various Crossplane files, resources, and so on. So I created an extension, and I want to show you how it looks. It's really simple, and there are just a few things required to create your own Telescope extension. So if you have a favorite command line that you would like to wrap in a Telescope extension, this is something that you can do. So here you can see the folder structure. So you just place the folders Telescope, and then Telescope and the name of your extension with the structure how you see on the screen. You can read all about it in the Telescope developer manual. That's very simple. You just create this folder with the files, and then you define the core functionality of your extension by just creating whatever functions you want the extension to support. So in my case, I am showing various kinds of resources from Crossplane. And then I'm implementing a picker logic. So the functions that you see, they actually import first various telescope libraries, and then telescope modules rather, like pickers, finders, and config. Then I'm essentially just sending a kubectl command, and then on the results that I'm getting, I'm actually building a picker out of it. So you will see this in action in a second, but that's the first part. Another one is to create a custom action. So what happens when you hit enter? In my case, I want to simply send the edit command to the YAML that I have received. And then at the end, I am registering the extensions so that I can have essentially, crossplane extensions inside my Neovim. All right, so that was a lot of files. Let's see how it looks in action. So again, it might look a bit intimidating from the code point of view because I'm manipulating YAML files and so on. But the functions that you can see, that's essentially it. So I have a show manage resources function, and I have a kubectl get managed own name and so on. So this is simply wraps a kubectl command and does various things. So as far as functionality goes, it's nothing that crazy. You need to pay attention how you edit the YAML, and there's a little bit of fiddling there. But otherwise, again, it just wraps your existing kubectl command inside of the extension. So let's say I already have deployed locally my cluster, and I want to edit crossplane resource. So I have T, C, and R, I believe. So this shows me a picker, and you can see I have a Helm provider, Kubernetes provider, and others. And when I hit enter on any of those resources, as expected, it brings me to a kubectl edit command, and I am just simply able to edit YAML file here and send it back to Kubernetes without leaving Neovim. So one bonus kind of fun extension that I use often is manipulating emojis. So when I write my presentations, you often see emojis. With this one, I didn't add, but often I add emojis. That's how I do it. I go to use the telescope emoji extension. So let's see how it looks in action. Here I have a simple empty file. And then, for example, I could say like, and subscribe. And then I do Control E for emoji. And then let's say some smiley face, smiley cat. So that's the emoji that is being added here. Super easy. It can enrich your text, and you don't need external programs to do it. So that's it. We've learned how to use telescope extensions, how to build our own telescope extension. Again, all the files will be in the video description, link to my config files and so on. So you can try to build your own, or simply discover various other extensions and see whether they can enrich your workflow. As always, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.